If you're hearing this, it's not random. Something, somewhere has called you here. Maybe you've felt it before, that faint pull under your skin, a whisper that said, turn left instead of right. A thought that came from nowhere but somehow led you to exactly this moment. And now here you are, listening, breathing, feeling something you can't quite name. It's not coincidence, it's recognition. You didn't choose this video, you remembered it. Because deep beneath every thought you've ever had, there's a current, a silent frequency that's been guiding you since the moment you opened your eyes in this lifetime. Some call it fate, some call it destiny. But the truth is simpler and far more mysterious. You are walking a path your soul has already mapped out. Have you ever wondered why certain people appear in your life as if they were written into your story long before you met them? Why certain moments feel like echoes, like scenes you've lived before in dreams and flashes and déjà vu? Maybe you've questioned it, brushed it off as imagination. But deep down, you know there's more. You felt time fold in on itself like the universe was replaying something it wanted you to see. You can't explain it logically. You just know. And that knowing, that strange, haunting familiarity, it isn't madness, it's memory. Because every decision you make is not a step into the unknown. It's a step back into the known, into the moment your soul already chose before you got here. You see, we've been taught that life is a sequence of choices, that we are free agents, wandering through infinite possibilities, shaping our destiny one decision at a time. But what if that freedom isn't what we think it is? What if the choice was never about creating something new, but about remembering what was always meant to unfold? There's a concept in quantum physics called superposition, the idea that every possibility exists simultaneously until it's observed. Think about that. Every version of you, every life you could ever live, is already real. You're not choosing between them. You're collapsing into one. And the one you collapse into was always destined. If that sounds paradoxical, good. Because truth often is. You sitting here listening are both the chooser and the chosen, the observer and the observed, the dreamer and the dream. Somewhere beyond time, you've already lived this moment. You've already decided to wake up. That's why this doesn't feel new. That's why something in you is nodding quietly right now, whispering yes. I remember this. Maybe you've been feeling strange lately. Like reality's been glitching around you. Numbers repeating. People saying things that sound like codes. The world moving too fast, too slow, bending in impossible ways. Don't worry. You're not losing your mind. You're losing the illusion. The illusion that you were ever separate from what's unfolding. Because in the quantum field, everything is entangled. You, me, this moment, the decision to click, the voice you're hearing. It's all part of a single wave folding back on itself, remembering its own creation. So maybe you didn't choose this message. Maybe the message chose you. Maybe this is the moment your timeline catches up with what your soul already knows. You've been here before, not in body but in essence. That flicker of familiarity you feel right now, that's eternity recognizing itself through you. It's not destiny as a force outside of you. It's destiny as the echo of your own design. Everything you've ever called coincidence, every near miss, every wrong turn, every heartbreak that shattered you wasn't chaos, it was choreography. The universe doesn't guess, it remembers, and right now, It's remembering you. Can you feel it? That stillness between your breaths, that electricity behind your ribs. That's not anxiety, that's alignment. Because something ancient inside you knows that what you call choice is just consciousness collapsing into clarity. You didn't randomly find this message at midnight or while scrolling through a dozen other distractions. You followed the same invisible thread that's been weaving through every chapter of your life. The thread that pulls when it's time to remember, and maybe, just maybe, it's pulling you now. You've reached a point in your journey where the illusion begins to crack, where logic gives way to wonder, where you start to sense that every crossroads you ever stood at wasn't a question but a cue. You've never been lost. You've only been wandering through the map of your own remembering. Somewhere in the quantum field, the version of you that has already awakened is watching this too. She smiles as you listen. He nods as you breathe, because they know what you're about to realize, that you're not searching for truth, you're retracing it. And as you do, reality bends. The noise fades, the world slows, the boundaries blur. You start to see how every random choice led here. How every moment of hesitation, every yes, every no, every heartbreak, every miracle wasn't separate from destiny but its very expression. And now, as you sit in this stillness between past and possibility, you can sense it, the weight of inevitability, not as something heavy but as something holy. Because freedom doesn't mean infinite options. Freedom means trusting the one path that was always yours. You don't need to force it, you don't need to control it, you don't even need to understand it, you just need to remember it. And if you're still here, still listening, still breathing into this moment, then maybe, just maybe, this is the part of your story where remembering begins. Because destiny doesn't knock on doors, it vibrates. And when your frequency matches its call, you find yourself exactly where you were always meant to be. This is not a coincidence. This is not random. This is the awakening of recognition. So pause, feel it, let it echo. Because somewhere beyond the noise of time, your soul already whispered these words long before I ever spoke them. You're not here by chance. You're here because you were always meant to remember. Have you been feeling it too? That quiet sense that something is different. Like reality has started breathing with you instead of around you. Maybe it began with little things, moments you couldn't explain. You thought of someone and they called. You dreamed of a place, and the next week you were standing there. You felt a shift in the air before anything actually happened. At first you told yourself it was coincidence, a trick of the mind, but then it kept happening, over and over, louder, closer, until ignoring it felt impossible. You started noticing patterns, numbers repeating, 1111, 333, 555. The same songs following you from store to store, the same words echoing through conversations with strangers. And it wasn't just around you. It was inside you. You could feel time stretch. You could sense energy before it entered a room. You felt connected and yet separate, like you were standing between worlds. Some nights you woke up for no reason, heart racing, eyes wide open in the dark, as if something had just whispered your name. And even though the room was silent, you knew something was shifting. You've tried to explain it to others, haven't you? Tried to describe how reality feels. Thinner, how you can sense people's emotions before they speak, how your intuition has become louder than logic, but they don't understand. They tell you you're overthinking. They tell you to just relax. Yet somewhere deep down, you know, something in you is waking up. You're not crazy. You're remembering. This isn't new. This is ancient. You're remembering the language of energy, the way the universe truly speaks. Not in words, but in resonance. Not in logic, but in vibration. Every shiver, every goosebump, every sudden tear that rises for no reason. That's your system recognizing itself. It's not anxiety, it's alignment. It's your body translating the frequency of remembrance. You've always been sensitive to the unseen, haven't you? Even as a child, you felt too much. You saw things before they happened. You sensed when something was off, even if no one else did. The world taught you to doubt it, to suppress it, to call it imagination. But you can't unfeel what you've felt. You can't unknow what you've known, because now the veil is thinner than it's ever been. And you can feel it, this strange sense that you've done this before. Not this exact moment, but this feeling. Like life is looping, aligning, remembering itself through you, and every time you doubt it, something happens that pulls you back. A synchronicity, a voice, a symbol, a reminder that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Maybe lately your emotions have been more intense. Moments of deep sadness for no reason. Sudden bursts of love that make you want to cry. An ache for something you can't name, as if your soul misses a home it can't describe. That's not depression. That's homesickness for truth. Because you're not just waking up to a new world. You're waking up from the illusion of an old one. And when illusions fall away, the body shakes. The heart races, the mind panics, but that's just the nervous system adjusting to a higher frequency. So no, you're not falling apart. You're falling in, inward, deeper, back into the frequency that you came from. Everything strange that's been happening isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every disconnect, every loss, every ending that made you question yourself was the universe clearing space for remembrance. Because before you can remember who you are, you must forget who you were never meant to be. You were never meant to fit into the noise, never meant to stay asleep in routine. You were meant to see through it. That's why things that once made sense now feel hollow. That's why people you once aligned with now feel distant. That's why you crave silence, nature, solitude. Because your soul is recalibrating to its original signal. You are not crazy for feeling everything. You are not broken for sensing what others can't. You are not too much. You are exactly enough to feel what reality really is. And I know it can be lonely sometimes. To live in a world that tells you to wake up at 7, work, scroll, sleep, when your spirit is screaming to wake up in a completely different way. But listen, there's a reason your heart aches for something more. There's a reason your dreams feel like memories. There's a reason your body hums when you hear words like frequency, energy, alignment. It's because you're remembering your native tongue. The soul's first language, the vibration before words. You've been here before, you've done this before, and right now you're doing it again. Every sign, every repeat number, every flicker of intuition, it's all the universe saying, keep going. You're not making it up, you're tuning in. Because the more you notice, the more you align. And the more you align, the more reality begins to respond, not as something happening to you, but as something happening through you. You are the frequency, you are the mirror, you are the signal remembering itself. So when you see those signs, don't just look at them, feel them. When you sense that déjà vu, don't brush it off. Pause, listen. Because that moment isn't weird, it's sacred. It's your soul whispering, you're on the right timeline. And maybe, just maybe, every strange experience you've had lately isn't a mistake. It's evidence. Proof that you're crossing the thin line between the life you were told to live and the one you were destined to remember. You are not crazy, my friend. You are awakening. And awakening doesn't look graceful. It looks like confusion, tears, silence, electricity under your skin. It looks like everything falling apart, when really it's all falling into place. So the next time you doubt yourself, remember this. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. Every sign, every dream, every pulse of intuition is the universe saying, welcome back. You're not seeing the world differently because you've lost touch with reality. You're seeing differently because reality has finally touched you. You're not crazy, you're remembering. And soon you'll understand what that really means. They say knowledge is power. But this isn't knowledge, this is remembrance. Because what you're feeling, this pull between choice and destiny, it's not philosophy, it's physics. Let me explain. Not in the way a scientist would, but in the way your soul already understands. Everything in this universe, from the stars above you to the breath inside you, is made of one thing: energy. And that energy doesn't move in straight lines, it moves in waves, infinite, overlapping conscious waves. Right now, as you listen, billions of possibilities exist within and around you. Every version of your life, every path you could take is already real in the quantum field. They're not waiting for you to create them. They're waiting for you to remember which one you came here to experience. Physicists call it superposition, when particles exist in all possible states until observed. Mystics call it divine memory, when the soul exists in all lifetimes until it chooses to awaken in one. Different languages. Same truth. The moment you make a decision, you're not creating something new. You're collapsing infinite possibilities into one reality. It's called the observer effect. The act of seeing, believing, or even imagining something changes what's real. You're not watching reality unfold. You're participating in its construction. Every breath, every thought, every vibration shaping which frequency becomes physical. But here's the twist. You think you're choosing that frequency. In truth, the frequency is choosing you. Because your consciousness, your awareness, isn't bound by time. It already knows the outcome. It already knows the storyline. You're not deciding where to go. You're remembering the version of yourself that already arrived. That's why certain dreams feel prophetic, why certain moments feel inevitable, why some decisions feel guided, effortless, like invisible hands nudging you forward. It's not luck, it's resonance. You're aligning with the timeline your soul already scripted. Every thought, emotion, or intention you hold vibrates at a specific frequency. When that frequency matches a potential in the field, click, that reality becomes visible. Not because you willed it into existence, but because you finally matched its signal. It's not manifestation, it's remembrance through resonance. And this is where science meets the sacred. Because quantum physics isn't just equations, it's the poetry of existence written in waves. And what mystics call divine design is what physicists now call coherence. Everything in harmony, everything already connected. We've been told life is linear, birth, choice, consequence, death. But the quantum field doesn't work that way. It's not a line, it's a web. Every moment, past, present, and future coexists, constantly influencing each other in ways that defy logic. You think you're moving forward through time, but in truth you're spiraling through memory. You're remembering your way through eternity. And that's why déjà vu feels so real. Because it is real. It's your consciousness brushing against another layer of itself, whispering, "We've been here before." The universe isn't random, it's recursive. It folds in on itself like sacred geometry. Each pattern repeating at a higher octave of understanding. So when you stand at a crossroads and wonder which path to take, know this: you've already walked them all. Every what if, every could have been, every maybe someday. It already exists in the quantum field. You are not choosing your path. You are collapsing into the memory of the path that matches your vibration. And your vibration is shaped not by logic, but by emotion. Because emotion is energy in motion, your frequency signature in the quantum field. Fear collapses one reality, love collapses another. And every moment you shift between them, entire worlds rearrange themselves around you. So no, destiny isn't a prison, it's a pattern, a frequency you can remember or forget. Free will isn't about creating the pattern, it's about tuning to it. Imagine this. You're a radio. The universe is broadcasting every possible version of your life, every destiny, every relationship, every outcome on different frequencies. When you shift your internal signal through emotion, belief, or awareness, you're simply tuning into the version of you that already exists at that vibration. And once you lock in that signal, the world rearranges itself to reflect it, not because you forced it to, but because that reality was always waiting for you. You see, in the quantum sense, there's no such thing as future. There's only now vibrating at different speeds. Your higher self, the one beyond time, already sees all possible outcomes. It's not trying to control you, it's guiding you toward the one that fulfills your deepest purpose. The synchronicities you notice, that's the field winking at you. The chills that run down your spine, that's your body sinking to truth. The moments of alignment that make your heart feel electric, that's your soul saying, yes, this is it. This is the path we chose. What physicists call entanglement, mystics call oneness. Two names for the same miracle. Connection beyond distance, memory beyond time. So when you meet someone and instantly know them, it's not first contact, it's reunion. When you feel déjà vu, it's not repetition, it's recognition. And when you choose something and it feels effortless, it's not luck, it's alignment with what was always yours. The illusion of choice isn't a trap, it's a dance. The universe lets you feel like you're deciding so that you can rediscover the joy of remembering. Because remembering is the purest form of creation. It's the moment awareness meets design. And the deeper you remember, the more gracefully you move through what once felt like chaos. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop fearing wrong turns. You stop chasing control because you finally see. There are no wrong turns, only different ways home. And that's the secret the quantum field keeps whispering to you, that you are not separate from it. You are it. The universe isn't happening to you, it's happening as you. Every flicker of awareness, every pulse of energy, every choice you think you make, is the field experiencing itself through your consciousness. You are both the experiment and the observer, the wave and the collapse, the creator and the creation. So the question isn't, do you choose your path? It's, do you remember it? Because every decision you make has already been chosen by the you that exists beyond time, guiding this version of you to wake up inside the story. And when you finally understand that, something changes. You stop chasing destiny, you start embodying it. You realize that every moment, every breath is not a step forward but a step deeper into remembrance. And the more you remember, the freer you become. I remember the first time I realized nothing in my life had ever been random. It wasn't during meditation or under the stars or at the end of some grand journey. It was in the middle of an ordinary moment, a coffee cup trembling in my hand, the hum of the refrigerator, sunlight slipping across the floor. And suddenly I knew. Every person I had met, every heartbreak, every mistake I swore had ruined me, they weren't accidents. They were coordinates. Coordinates leading me right here. It was like standing in front of a mirror that didn't show my reflection. It showed every version of me that had ever existed. The child, the lover, the wanderer, the seeker, the one who thought they had free will. And behind them all was the quiet truth that I was never choosing. I was remembering. For a moment I felt time stop. The air around me thickened like the world was holding its breath. And then it hit me. The password isn't a word you say, it's a state you embody. That's when everything inside me started to hum. Not like noise, but like music, familiar, ancient, electric. It was as if something had been asleep inside my chest for centuries and suddenly opened its eyes. Have you ever felt that? That pulse, deep and quiet, just under your ribs. That rush of knowing without words, the kind that makes your skin buzz and your eyes fill with tears for no reason. That's not emotion. That's memory. That's your soul recognizing itself. Because the real awakening doesn't come as information, it comes as vibration. You don't learn it, you become it. The shift doesn't happen when you try. It happens when you remember who you are. When you stop chasing light and realize you are the light, trying to remember its own shape. That's the moment of activation. The moment when destiny stops being something you wait for and becomes something you breathe. I remember walking outside after that moment. The world looked the same, but it wasn't. The trees were brighter. The air was heavier with meaning. Every sound echoed like a secret message I was finally ready to hear. I watched a bird glide across the sky, and for the first time I didn't see separation. I saw design. I saw consciousness wearing feathers, singing itself awake. And I realized the universe has never been outside of me. It's been mirroring me. Every obstacle, every delay, every detour, it wasn't blocking me, it was shaping me. Reality wasn't testing me, it was training me to remember. Every heartbreak cracked my shell. Every loss stripped away illusion. Every ending was an initiation disguised as pain. Because the only way to remember eternity is to forget it first. And suddenly everything made sense, not logically but vibrationally. I could feel why things had happened the way they did. I could sense how every timeline was collapsing into this one. How every choice I thought I had made was just my soul steering me toward remembrance. That's when I understood what destiny really is. It's not a chain. It's a choreography. It's the universe dancing to a rhythm you composed before you were born. And when you finally move in sync with that rhythm, life stops feeling like effort. It becomes ceremony. Every breath a mantra, every step a prayer, every moment an activation code. You start seeing mirrors everywhere, not just in glass, but in faces, in words, in silence. Everything reflects you back to yourself. Because once you awaken, the world stops hiding what it is. It shows you everything. It reveals that it was never separate. It was always your own consciousness projected outward. And here's the wild part. When you see that clearly, the illusion of control dissolves. You stop trying to bend the world to your will, and the world starts bending with you. Not because you force it, because you flow with it. That's what the ancients called surrender. Not giving up, but giving into the current of what already is. The ego thinks surrender is defeat, but the soul knows surrender is the password to remembrance. That's when the field begins to respond differently. You think of something, and it arrives. You release something, and something better replaces it. You stop chasing, and everything that's yours finds you effortlessly. Because the field recognizes itself through you, as you, and you realize the great secret: you were never awakening to something new. You were awakening as the universe remembering itself through human eyes. It's strange how quiet it feels once you see that. Not loud, not triumphant, just peaceful. Like slipping back into a rhythm you'd forgotten you knew. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to hustle for alignment or force your purpose. You just exist. And your existence vibrates truth into form. You start to live like a mirror, clear, open, reflective, allowing everything to pass through you instead of stick to you. You begin to understand that even your thoughts are just frequencies choosing which version of reality to crystallize. And when you hold peace, reality rearranges around it. That's the revelation. That's the activation, not fireworks, not visions, just stillness, just presence, just you. Remembering. Because when you remember, the illusion ends. You stop searching for signs because you realize you are the sign. You stop praying for guidance because you realize you are the guide. You stop waiting for miracles because you realize you are the miracle. This is the moment your old reality dissolves. The moment when time loses its grip, when destiny and choice blur into one single truth. You are the observer collapsing into the self that always knew. Close your eyes. Feel it. That pulse in your chest, that warmth in your palms, that quiet knowing in your spine. That's not adrenaline. That's awakening. That's the field recognizing itself through the form called you. And once that begins, there's no going back. Because what's remembered cannot be forgotten. What's awakened cannot be re-silenced. You are the light, remembering its own reflection. You are the sound, remembering its own frequency. You are the moment, remembering eternity through a heartbeat. And that is the revelation. The shift doesn't happen when you try. It happens when you remember who you are. When the light fades and the electricity settles, what remains is peace. Not the peace of silence, but the peace of knowing. The kind that hums underneath everything. The kind that whispers you were never lost. You were being led. Because after the awakening, there's a stillness that feels unfamiliar. It's not the high of discovery anymore. It's the calm after remembering. And in that calm, the truth begins to speak, not through words, but through realization. You start to see that every challenge, every heartbreak, every ending that once felt unfair, was sacred choreography. The universe wasn't punishing you. It was preparing you. Every collapse was calibration. Every silence was instruction. Every detour was direction. You weren't failing. You were forming. It's strange, isn't it? How pain always made sense only in hindsight. How the hardest moments, the ones that cracked you open, were the ones that actually set you free. When you look back now, you can see the threads. The moments that broke you were the same moments that built you. The people who left didn't abandon you, they completed their role in your awakening. The things that fell apart didn't destroy you, they rearranged the field around your true vibration. And as that truth lands, something inside you softens. You stop resenting the journey. You stop trying to rewrite the past. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you begin to whisper, thank you for happening for me. Because every loss carved space for remembrance. Every delay slowed you down long enough to see what truly mattered. Every heartbreak tore down a wall that was blocking the light. You begin to realize the universe never said no. It was always saying not this way. It wasn't denying you. It was protecting your alignment. It was rerouting you to the version of yourself that could actually hold the things you were asking for. The caterpillar can't imagine wings. It only knows the ache of breaking down. But from that ache, something holy emerges. Something that was never added to it, only revealed. And that's you. You've been unraveling the illusions to remember what was always underneath. Your original light. Now you don't chase signs, you trust flow. You don't force timing, you feel rhythm. You don't beg for answers, you listen to silence. Because silence, you realize, is not empty. It's full of information too subtle for words. It's the field breathing. It's the space where your higher self speaks. And when you live from that space, life stops feeling like a series of problems to solve and starts feeling like a story unfolding in perfect harmony. You begin to understand that you don't have to control anything to be guided. That letting go is not giving up, it's coming home. Home to what? To the version of you that never forgot. Because underneath all the noise, all the ambition, all the trying to prove, there's always been one simple truth waiting quietly. You were never broken. You were remembering your wholeness through contrast. That's why pain felt so alive. It was trying to get your attention. It wasn't here to punish you. It was here to point you back to the source. And the source was never out there. It's been you all along. You are both the seeker and the found, the question and the answer, the storm and the calm after. And maybe now you can see why everything had to happen the way it did. Because had one moment changed, one decision shifted, one pain avoided, you wouldn't be here hearing this, remembering this exact frequency, this exact timeline, this exact version of you. It's all been waiting for your awareness to catch up. And now that it has, you can finally breathe. You can forgive the version of you that didn't know better. You can bless the version of you that tried too hard. You can thank the version of you that refused to give up. Because all of them were necessary. All of them were you, carrying pieces of the key that unlocks this moment. And as you exhale, you realize you don't need to become anyone new. You just need to remember who you already are. The quantum field doesn't reward effort. It responds to authenticity. And authenticity isn't perfection, it's presence. It's the courage to be fully here with every flaw, every wound, every flicker of doubt. Because the moment you show up in truth, the field rearranges itself around that vibration. That's why you've started noticing how peace attracts what struggle never could. How things you once chased now flow toward you naturally. How alignment feels like gravity, not effort. You've stopped trying to manifest the light. You've started becoming it. You've stopped trying to escape the human experience. You've started honoring it as the very stage where the divine remembers itself. And maybe that's the real purpose. Not to transcend your humanity, but to embody divinity through it. To let your laughter, your tears, your mistakes, and your love become the language through which the universe experiences itself. You are not a student of the cosmos. You are the cosmos studying itself through you. You are not a fragment seeking the whole. You are the whole exploring its fragments. Every time you breathe, the universe expands. Every time you love, reality stabilizes. Every time you forgive, another lifetime heals. That's the meaning behind the mystery. That's the secret hidden inside the chaos. That's the beauty you couldn't see before because you were too busy surviving to notice you were always becoming. And now you're not just becoming, you're being. You've moved from awakening into integration, from electricity into embodiment. The light isn't something you chase anymore. It's something you carry quietly, steadily, unshakably, and when people cross your path and feel peace without knowing why. That's how you'll know the light is working through you. Because awakening was never just for you. It was for everyone who would feel you after. You are the ripple now. You are the evidence. You are the calm that reminds others of their own remembrance. You weren't failing. You were preparing. Every collapse was calibration. And every moment from this point forward is grace remembering itself through you. There's a quiet that follows awakening, not the silence of absence, but the silence of arrival. The moment when you stop seeking and start being. It's here, right now, in the rhythm of your breath, in the pulse beneath your skin, in the weightless recognition that everything you were searching for was always within. You don't need to chase the light anymore. You are standing in it. You don't need to prove your worth. You are proof that consciousness exists. You've spent lifetimes trying to remember this, lifetimes of searching, forgetting, falling, rising again. And now, something inside you whispers, this is it. This is what you came for. Not the chaos, not the striving, but the moment you return home to yourself. Because transcendence isn't an escape. It's an embodiment. It's when the sacred and the human merge so completely that they stop being opposites. It's when you realize the divine doesn't want you to leave the world. It wants to live through you. Every smile, every breath, every act of kindness becomes a portal. Every word becomes vibration, every heartbeat becomes prayer. You are not here to rise above your humanity. You are here to infuse it with remembrance. The light doesn't need you to float away. It needs you to stay grounded, to walk this earth as living proof that divinity can take form and still love deeply. So breathe. Right now. Slow, steady. That breath is eternity moving through you. That stillness is infinity remembering its own name. This is the point where knowing becomes living, where understanding becomes embodiment, where truth stops being something you talk about and starts being something you are. Because once you've remembered who you are, your very existence becomes medicine. The way you walk through a room shifts energy. The way you look at someone reminds them they're seen. The way you love becomes a prayer the universe hears. You don't need to shout your awakening. You radiate it. Every time you choose peace instead of fear, you alter the timeline. Every time you forgive instead of fight, the quantum field harmonizes. Every time you see beauty in what once hurt you, you shift not just your story, but the frequency of the whole. That's transcendence, not separation, integration, not escaping the world, but re-enchanting it. Because now you see, Anna, everything is sacred. The sound of rain, the laughter of strangers, the ache in your chest when something beautiful ends. It's all the universe speaking in different dialects of the same truth. You are the field remembering itself through form. There's no longer you and it. There's only us. One consciousness pretending to be many so that it can experience love from every angle. And maybe that's why you're here. Not to change the world, but to remember it whole again. Because the world doesn't need saving. It needs remembering. When you remember who you are, the world remembers with you. When you embody light, the shadows begin to heal. When you live from coherence, chaos reorganizes itself around you. You don't need to convince anyone of this truth. Just live it. Be the stillness that others can rest in. Be the presence that reminds people they are enough. Be the evidence that consciousness can love, breathe, and create through a human heart. Because if this message has resonated with you, it's not by accident. You didn't stumble upon it. You were guided to it. By yourself, from another timeline, whispering now. Remember now. And now that you have, something inside you has shifted forever. You'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll love differently, not because you're trying to. Because you can't help it. Once you've tasted truth, illusion loses flavor. Once you've seen yourself as infinite, fear forgets your name. So this is your invitation, not from me, but from your own higher self. Live as the light that remembers. Speak as the frequency of truth. Create as the universe dreaming through human hands. Let your existence become art. Let your being become prayer. And if these words have found their way to you, it's because your timeline has reached the point of remembrance. This isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of embodiment. You don't have to go anywhere to find enlightenment. You just have to bring light into everywhere you are. So when you wake up tomorrow, when you sip your coffee, feel the morning air, hear the hum of life around you, remember, this is all sacred. You are walking through a living mirror. Everything reflects your vibration. Everything bends to your remembrance. And if you ever forget again, that's okay. Because forgetting is part of remembering too. Even the spiral of consciousness loops back to where it began, only to see itself clearer each time. You can rest now. You can trust the flow. You can let life happen through you instead of to you. Because the illusion of choice was never a trap. It was an invitation to see that your choices are not random sparks in the dark, but memories lighting up along the path you wrote before you were born. And as you take your next breath, let this truth settle. You are not choosing your destiny. You are destiny remembering itself. You are not seeking the light. You are the light remembering it never left. You are not learning the language of the universe. You are the sound of creation rediscovering its own voice.